Step into the squared circle, where the bell echoes through decades, where main events become legends and tag teams tore the house down. From the undercard to the top of the card, this is Portland Wrestling at its finest. One ring, one city, 1,000 stories. This is Ringside in Rose City. And here's your hosts, Frank Culbertson and Mike Rogers.
Hey, thanks, Lisa. I'm Frank Culbertson. I'm here with
Mike Rogers.
And you're listening to Ringside in Rose City. One ring, one city, 1,000 stories. And we let the wheel decide which story we tell tonight. If Portland wrestling means something to you, whether it's the legends, the rivalries, or the deep cuts that only true fans remember, well, welcome home. You're in the right place. Now, Mike and I don't choose the topic. The envelope does. And it all depends on where the ringside wheel stops. And Lisa, of course, controls the wheel. So, Lisa, spin that wheel.
That sucked. Let me give the wheel another spin. Oh, that's a good spin.
And the envelope, please. Thank you, Lisa. Oh, I was wondering when the wheel would stop at this envelope. So, Lisa, I'm going to need you to do extra duty tonight and pull up the file marked audio and then play them in the order as we go. You wrote 3 books titled Excitement in the Air, Volumes 1, 2, and 3 that we've talked about, and they're all available on Amazon. But the subtitle was Voices of Northwest Wrestling. Well, on this episode, we're going to get to hear those voices. We're going to play interviews with some of the stars of Portland wrestling, some of the not-so-stars of Portland wrestling. And I got to tell you, some are great interviews, some are just okay, some are not good at all, and one, well, it's just plain sad. But before we get to the interviews, Mike, a couple questions for you. What made for good interviews in Portland, and what was the purpose of the interviews in Portland TV?
Well, the interviews in Portland were so important because you had the matches, you had 2 preliminaries, and then a main event, 2 out of 3 falls. And then between each match, there would be an interview. And the fans at the arena would come circling around the crow's nest so they could get a good view of what was going to happen in the interview, because a lot of times the wrestlers would be doing their interviews, but this was also the chance for an angle or another wrestler to come up and have an argument or attack the wrestler. That would happen if you averaged it out maybe once every 2 weeks. It wouldn't happen every week because then you'd be expecting it. But every other week, maybe there'd be an altercation in the crow's nest during the interviews. But what they said was also really, really important because they will tell you why they're in a feud, why they're upset with the other wrestler, what happened, what issues they have. And then they'd also touch on what matches were upcoming, the different towns they'd be in. They try to mention something special for each town. So if you're in Lebanon, Oregon, and they're coming on Wednesday night, they've just said something about that matchup or that town or what the main event is. And maybe you were thinking about going and maybe you weren't. Maybe you were just going to rest that night. And it's like, oh, wow, that's going to happen here in Lebanon. Maybe we should go. You know, they're trying to talk people into the building.
And that was important because that's how they made most of their money. It wasn't from TV. It was from the house shows, from Eugene and from Salem, where they were getting the audience to come in. And really, other than in some small towns, you mentioned Lebanon, and I know you had a whole collection of these. Other than window cards, there wasn't really a way, in some newspaper articles, a way for fans to really know, to get really excited about them. Why don't you tell us what a window card is for those youngsters out there that don't know what that is?
Well, about a month prior to the wrestling match, especially in Seaside, they would put up window cards and it would list, there would be pictures, there'd be the lineup of who was going to wrestle on that card. And in Seaside, oftentimes wrestling would come about once a month. And so very shortly after you would go see the matches, maybe a week after, you have new window cards being displayed. And it was always so exciting. You know, you're a wrestling fan. You want to see who's coming and what the matches are going to be, if it's going to be a card that you really anticipate. So it's funny. I'm trying to describe it, but the level of excitement that you're a young teenager and you'd be driving by and you could look on the store window front and you see the wrestling poster. You can't read it yet, but you see that it's up and you're all excited to pull over and run over and read what the card is.
And famously, they had four little snapshots, two on each side that were in black and white with the name wrestling up on top. And then they would list some of the matches. Usually they got them wrong. And they were like 8.5 by 11. So they're not like the posters that people see on telephone poles nowadays. And these were like thick cardboard, weren't they?
Yeah, they were thicker than just a regular piece of paper that would run through a copy machine. And I always was fascinated by the foresight of how they would plan this 3 weeks in advance. I remember one time seeing Manny Cruz is coming, and he wasn't in the area yet. And there hadn't been any mention of him coming. And it's like, who is that? And how do they know he's going to be here? It was like, how do they know that?
Those wrestling window cards, as you mentioned, a phrase you use, lost to wrestling history. Those just don't happen anymore, do they? And with social media, you're on Instagram and Facebook promoting the show. You're not going to Safeway and looking at it. But I still would, that's for sure. So we want to make sure to thank Rich Patterson and Buddy Rose for these tapes these interviews are pulled from. Buddy had one of the very first VCR type machines and taped almost all of the old Portland wrestling video that you see on the internet. And then after Buddy passed away, his wife Tammy offered the tapes to Rich Patterson, who was a very good friend of Buddy's. Rich spent over $1,000 converting the tapes, cleaning the machine, re-cleaning the machine, and then re-cleaning the machine again. The tapes had been stored for years in Buddy's garage and had gathered dust and mold. But Rich didn't give up, and it's why we have such a rich history of Portland wrestling to enjoy. Now, Rich has continued to gather tapes, and his drive is now up to almost 600 hours of Portland wrestling video and a few other local promotions that came afterwards. It is the ultimate Portland wrestling collection. And like Mike and I, you too can have your own drive of all the shows by contacting Rich Patterson at portlandwrestlingvideo@yahoo.com. That's portlandwrestlingvideo@yahoo.com. We'll repeat that at the end of the show. Now, Mike, we should go ahead and let Lisa start the audio with the way Portland started the shows with the voice of Frank Bonema. So, Lisa, punch up that audio, please.
From the Portland Sports Arena, this is Portland Wrestling. Brought to you in part by Marv Talkin Ford, where you're number one. And by Tom Peterson, Oregon's largest TV stereo and appliance at 82nd and Southeast Foster Road. Hello, everybody. I'm Frank Bonema, and I'm glad to have you aboard. We're going to have a lot of action for you tonight, and a lot of new names coming into the Pacific Northwest. We'll be talking about those people as the show goes on.
Mike, the voice of Frank Bonema, does that bring back memories or what?
Oh, yes. Frank Bonema was such a respected announcer. He was the perfect straight man. Comparing him to Don Koss later, who was the announcer after Frank passed away, Don had a real unique style, kind of would use puns and a little bit of humor, but Frank was so straight-laced, just the perfect straight man, just didn't interject himself at all and let the wrestlers do the talking.
And when you get these tapes and go through them, you'll see Frank Bonema change right before your very eyes. Initially, he had 1960, early 70s, he had just very straight hair. And then all of a sudden one night, he had this giant perm. And I just keep laughing every time I see Frank Bonema with a perm. But he passed away suddenly, and that's what brought Don Koss in, wasn't it?
Yeah, he passed away, and Don Koss came in. They put him with Dutch Savage initially just to get him used to how the show was going to be formatted and worked. And then I think Don did a great job.
Really learned on the fly because he had never done any wrestling announcing at all. And so I'm sure some of those times were pretty interesting to see as they put him with Dutch so that he could learn and Dutch could kind of cover for when Don wasn't quite sure what was going to happen in the crow's nest. As you mentioned, when wrestlers would come up and attack in the crow's nest, the first couple of times Don's like, what do I say? Where do I stand? but he caught on. So let's go ahead and dive right into the interviews with the wrestlers themselves. And the first one Lisa's going to bring up is, well, it's just the legend himself, and that's Lonnie Main.
I don't care what I got to do, Frank. He's going to get his arm busted one way or the other. He's done too many. Ventura. Tonight. Jay Youngblood.
Boy,
how many arms?
last weekend. That's twice for Youngblood.
Johnny Boyd. And I'm telling you right now, Sam Oliver Bass, buddy, you puke. You're going to get your arm broke. John Anson, I'm just going to say one thing. If I tell you to get your umbrella out, take it out because it's going to rain. But you ain't going to break no more. No more arms. Because come, you know what? I'll bust your arm right through your... And you know what I'm talking about. Because you know what? I'm mad, Frank. I can smell excitement in the air for once. And you know, I'm going to take this boot. And I'm going to take to that pretty boy, huh? That big, fat, over-idiot, psychotic, that might not be the right word, is all I'm saying. I'm going to beat your butt, boy. You hear me? I'm going to beat your butt. I'm going to break your arm and show you how it feels. What do you people think?
We might also add there's some youngsters, of course, we understand looking in tonight that you might want to dedicate when you get Rose in the ring. Dedicate that win to them. We understand if the kids down at Fairview are looking
Fairview,
in.
that's right, Frank. I didn't get a chance. I missed an airplane. God bless you in Fairview. God bless for the cake. And God bless you, buddy Rose, when I bust your arm to see how you feel. You won't be picking your nose for a while, boy.
Okay, that's the Moondog, and I'll tell you, if there wasn't enough hate going between those two before, it got going tonight.
Mike, Lonnie wasn't the orator that a Roddy Piper was, or even Buddy Rose, but there was something about Lonnie, wasn't there?
Oh, definitely. He had charisma. There's no doubt about it. Maybe at a higher level in Portland because he was so loved here.
And Lonnie, of course, has excitement in the air, and that's where that phrase that you used on those interview books that I mentioned, they're available on Amazon, volumes 1, 2, and 3. And Lonnie, he kind of makes up words sometimes, and then in this interview and in others that we'll place from time to time, he whistles instead of saying the naughty words that he wasn't supposed to say, which is really funny. And that's really what endeared Lonnie to the audiences. He was just that everyman type person, wasn't he?
Yeah, and I've heard him described by so many people. He was just a big kid, and that's so evident. You know, his interview style will either be very focused, or if it's not focused, where he's really trying to talk about a feud, he's just happy-go-lucky and a lot of fun to listen to. Again, he's not Roddy Piper for sure, but still a lot of fun to listen to.
Meltzer, he gives stars depending on how he views the matches. So we need to rate these interviews, but I don't want to give them stars. That's too easy. We're going to give them turnbuckle ratings. So, Mike, out of 5, how many turnbuckles are you giving Lonnie Main?
Anytime you can hear Lonnie Main, that's worth 5. 5 turnbuckles.
5 turnbuckles. I will 100% agree. Lonnie gets 5 turnbuckles. Lonnie Main. Okay, so the next one. Lisa, go ahead and play that.
If not, certainly one of the biggest, if not the biggest, coming up for you Tuesday night, and some special rules.
Frank, I put a lot of money on the line to get Buddy Rose in the ring one time by himself. And tonight when I walked in the arena, I probably got about 50 letters, all telling me don't do the match, don't take the match, not with Ed Wiskoski as the referee. Well, let me tell you something. For all the people, all the fans out there, I've got a few aces in the hole myself for this match. Number 1, you can lose on pinfall, you can lose on submission, or if your 2 feet touch the floor. Now that's to my benefit, because Buddy Rose, as everyone knows, doesn't like to stay in the ring very long. So if his 2 feet touch the floor, the match is over. Number 2, Wiskoski as referee. People say, don't do it, don't do it. Well, Frank, I look at it this way. If Wiskowski's in the ring, I've always got an eye on him. He's not going to be coming from back in the corner, back in the dressing room, here and there to do something to me. He's going to be right in the ring. Number 3, to my advantage. I got the match, no disqualification. So all Ed Wiskowski is going to be doing in there is watching me beat Buddy Rose to death. That's all he's going to be doing in there. He's going to watch me annihilate his partner Tuesday night right here. So there's a few aces in the hole for me on this match. I put up $5,000. Buddy Rose put up $1,000. I'm going to walk out of here with Buddy Rose's $1,000. And I'll tell you something, Ed Wiskowski. Get in my way one time in that ring, just once, Ed Wiskowski, and I'll beat both of you the same night.
Thank you.
1977, that's Jesse Ventura. Mike, what do you take away from that interview?
Well, the thing that I love about Portland wrestling history is when Jesse Ventura came into the area, they did not let him say one word. For probably 6 months, he teamed with Bull Ramus. Bull Ramus was his manager, his tag partner. Bull Ramus did all the talking. Ventura just posed with his bicep pose. He'd snarl a little bit. He'd make some faces. And finally, as they started to break up, Jesse started to talk, but it wasn't in a real articulate manner. This interview was when he really turned babyface and they gave him a chance to talk. Then that deep voice, and you could tell that he was very articulate, just a total different person than his first 6 months in the area. Obviously he is very articulate. That's why I think that it's so funny that they didn't let him say a word for so long. In this interview, he's talking about Buddy Rose. He's having a match where Ed Wiskowski is the referee, but he says that's okay, that he has some aces up his sleeve. He's very commanding, and his deep voice. I think this was a really good interview too.
So this was soon after Rose and Ventura broke up. So 2 things I want to ask you about. Bull Ramos and his partner broke up. Was that unusual?
Bull Ramus never had a partner that he stayed with. He broke up with every single tag partner he ever had. So it wasn't unusual.
And how did Rose and Ventura become a team? Because there's a real story behind that in Portland.
Buddy Rose debuted, and on the night that he debuted, he teamed with Jesse Ventura, and they were kind of Buddy Rose kind of talked about how they were the new young guns and the new guys in town. And Bull Ramus was still in the picture, not for much longer after that, but he was. And at times they even formed a team, 6-man team. But Buddy and Bull Ramus really didn't have much to do with each other.
Yeah, that would have been an interesting feud, wouldn't it? That, of course, 2 different styles of working for sure. Would have been interesting. Now, why did Rose and Ventura break up?
Rose and Ventura broke up when Buddy had an he was using a knee drop, and I think he accidentally caught Ventura, which injured Ventura and sent him out of the area for a while.
Because Ventura was a heel at that time.
Right.
And then he comes back and now he's a face going against Buddy Rose. That's just a terrific interview. So how many turnbuckles are we giving this one?
Historical significance. It was a good interview. 5 turnbuckles.
5 turnbuckles. I gave it 3. I didn't think they had a great crowd reaction, so I gave it 3 turnbuckles. So between the 2 of us, we're at 4, and so that's pretty good.
I can live with 4.
Okay, let's see, we're all kumbaya here. So another one, and I got to tell you, we're going to play 2 back to back, but let's play the first one of, and I'm not going to say his name, but the greatest wrestler of all time. So Lisa, go ahead and play this.
Former world champion Stan the Man Stasiak.
You know, Frank, I'm sick and tired of everybody complaining about my heart punch. Promoters, wrestlers, fans, everybody trying to condemn me. But little do they forget that a little while back, they used to beg for me to throw a heart punch on somebody. But now that I'm beating everybody, all the favorites, now we get nothing but a bunch of crybabies around. Well, I'll tell you what, Frank Bonema, This is not the end. This is just the beginning. I have just started chopping down and eliminating everybody that gets in my way, just like I'm proving in the ring tonight. And I'm going to prove every night from now on when I go in the ring, I'm going to throw leniency out the window, and I'm going to go full blast on everybody to show who the real master is, who the real champion is, who the real man is.
Stan the Man Stasiak.
Of course, that is Stan Stasiak as a heel. 1981, very strong voice. He stakes his position. He's clearly not a good guy. What do you take from that interview? And Stan had been here years earlier when he was much younger.
Yeah, this is a strong interview. He's complaining about the crowd, which is a good heel way to state things. He said they used to beg me to throw the heart punch, and now they're complaining about it, and they're worried that their favorites are going to get hit by the heart punch. Then he said, this isn't the end. He goes, this is just the beginning. He says, I'm going to eliminate anybody that gets in my way.
Yeah, I really liked how strong the voice was. He wasn't yelling, but you could tell he appeared really serious in this interview. And Stan would go on. Of course, he would have a run with Buddy Rose as a tag team partner as part of Buddy Rose's army. He was pretty much past his prime years before. But when he had been here in late 60s, very early 70s, he was over big as a heel and as a face, wasn't he?
Yeah, exactly. He's kind of like in that Gene Kaninsky mold where not really a handsome man, but he had a big size. He had a great finishing hold, that heart punch, both as a heel and a baby face. He may have had a little more success as a heel.
Absolutely. And as we know, the heart punch killed 17 wrestlers or ended their careers, because that's what Frank Bonema told us, and Frank never lied. So I'm going to just tell you right now, I would normally give that a 5 turnbuckle because it's Stan, but because it's aged Stan, I'm going to give it 4 turnbuckles. Mike, how about you?
I think so too. You know, sometimes when you're used to a wrestler as a baby face and you see them, that's the way that they are most of the time. Then when their personas change, sometimes it's a little bit hard to buy. I think Stan does a good job, but I think 4 turnbuckles is the way to go.
Well, that's 1981 Stan Stasiak. So let's go ahead and play 1984 Stan Stasiak, Lisa.
Ladies and gentlemen, making at least a momentary comeback because of something that happened. We'll let him tell you about it. Former champion of the world, Stan the Man Stasiak.
Well, thank you, Frank. I've been retired for 4.5 months, and as you know yourself, I went to Salem the other night as a favor to Sandy Barr and announce his matches and help him out and whatnot. I've been helping out at the Speedway also, and then something very ugly and nasty happened. I got involved. I'm not going to get into that now. That'll all be settled and taken care of on Thursday night. One of the major reasons also that I'm coming back to professional wrestling is because of the fact that I've been working in a very big sporting goods store in Oregon City, and we get many people. I never realized how many loyal, great fans there are in the Pacific Northwest. Nice people, and it made me feel bad that I retired. I'll tell you why it made me feel bad, because they asked me why. Why, Stan? Why did you retire? We loved you. We loved to watch you wrestle over the years. We didn't like the way you wrestled towards the end, but we always thought that maybe somehow you could come back to your old style and we could like you again. And then I realized, hey, I turned my back on these people. I didn't realize until they came to me how much they really respected and admired me in the past. And I said to myself, what a fool I've been to turn my back to these people. Not only are they the greatest wrestling fans in the world, but they all become friends of yours. They're friends. They're different from any other fans in the world. And I've been around the world several times, Frank. They're the greatest. And I'll tell you what, I'll promise you one thing. I'm back now. I will never turn my back on you, and I will do what is right. I love all of you. Thank you very much.
Stan the Man Stasiak.
Mike, there's one word for me right now, and that's sad. Tell me about this Stan Stasiak interview.
You know, wrestlers have this aura about them. They're wrestlers. And that's what you want to hear about. You don't want to hear about a wrestler who has retired and then is working in a sporting goods store because your image is as a wrestler who's somebody who's on TV, who's wrestling in front of crowds, they're going to have all the money they ever need and they won't need to work in a sporting goods store. So that's not a good image. I'm really surprised that would come across, that that's something that he would say. He's making his comeback. He's trying to be humble. He's appealing to the fans. I'm back and I'll never turn my back on you again. The interview had its purpose, but I just wouldn't have gone completely in that direction.
Yeah, and the money thing was, and working at the sporting goods store really bothered me because, like you said, you think wrestlers are supposed to be making all this money, and Buddy Rose talks about all the money that he's making, and then Stan is saying, "I'm working at a sporting goods store and selling fishing rods." I tell you, hurts my heart, but I gave that one turnbuckle. I'm crying. Mike, how many turnbuckles?
Yeah, I would have given that one 2.
Very generous. You're feeling nice today. Okay, the next one is a guy who you and I both know and is a real important part of Portland wrestling in the late 80s. So, Lisa, go ahead and play the Grappler.
Saturday night.
Let me tell you something, Don Cost. Every wrestler in the sport of professional wrestling wants one of these pretty shiny things right here, brother. Because that means you're at the top of your profession when you carry a championship belt. Well, the Southern Rockers got away with carrying these belts around for a long, long time. But it's high time a team come along like the Grappler and the Buddha Dean to put these 2 young punks in their place, brother. And you're challenging us for a Northwest Tag Team title match next Saturday night. Well, either you got more guts than I ever thought you had, boy, or you ain't got no brains at all. Because Scott Peterson, everybody's seen tonight what a Buddha Dean, the Grappler, can do to you. Now, Steve Dahl, you want to run out here and mouth off on the microphone and challenge somebody for a tag title match? Well, I'll tell you what. Me and the Buddha Dean decided we're fighting champions, brother. Southern Rockers, if you want it, you got it next Saturday right here. But it's like this. They got a name for you. When you're the greatest wrestlers in wrestling today, they don't call you a great wrestler. They call you the Northwest Tag Team Champions, a Buddha Dean and the Grappler. Beat us if you can.
So that's actually from December 1988. Dahl and Scott Peterson have won the tag team titles, will win the tag team titles in the next week. So tell me about the Grappler and what made him a good interview and what made this a good interview in your opinion.
I think every Grappler interview was good. He was very focused. He wanted to give you the information on whoever he was feuding with. He also made sure to tell you what day this match was going to happen. And the good interviews reiterated that because you didn't want to leave the fans saying, "Oh, I want to go see that match. When was it?" You'll hear the wrestlers repeat whatever day it is. And I've heard Grappler talk about the art of the interview and how it's really important to have a catchphrase. And a catchphrase has several different purposes. If you get lost in what you're saying, just go to your catchphrase and that can save you. And you're used to saying that, and beat me if you can was the Grappler's, a little bit more to it, but that was the driving point. Beat me if you can. And he uses this in every interview. Grappler, a really, really good interview.
And he talks with a strong voice. Jim Cornette would say with bass in his voice. That's what Jim likes. He wasn't screaming, but he was serious. And the catchphrase, not a lot of wrestlers in Portland really had catchphrases, did they?
Not really. I think this may be one of the first examples. Well, we have Lonnie Main with Excitement in the Air. That was a catchphrase. But yeah, as you think back, there's not a lot of others that really did have catchphrases.
And you had to be able to get the catchphrase out and make it believable. But Mike Golden tried to have a catchphrase, didn't he?
He tried to have the catchphrase and he got tongue-tied to the point where he may have actually ruined any potential that he had in the territory on his very first interview. And maybe what made it worse was he came back later on the first show and repeated his catchphrase. And I don't know if it would have been better just to not repeat it and just to go away and give it a try the next week. It just kind of reiterated so soon in the same TV show of how badly he'd done the first time.
Oh, so how many turnbuckles for the grappler?
Poor
Oh, I'm going to give grappler 5 because I liked it. And the catchphrase was so successful, he sold a lot of merch and continues to sell merch. And that's an important point if you have a good catchphrase. Lots of wrestlers try to come up with catchphrases. Not everybody needs a catchphrase, but if you're a star, that's something good to have. And speaking of stars, I'm going to say he kind of comes up with a catchphrase, a one-word catchphrase in this next interview. Lisa, go ahead and play Dr. D, David Schultz.
Dave Schultz, the man who says, call me Dr. D.
That's right, baby. You know, hey, you want to hold it down just a minute here? I got something I want to say, and I'm going to say it, baby. I'm going to say it if I have to say it over everybody out of here. I can tell you times 3 years ago, baby, where I almost killed that Andre the Giant with my bare hands. I can sit out here and tell you time where I run Rocky Johnson plumb out of the United States of America, baby. I run him plumb out. He didn't even have a home. He was a man without a country. Now, I'm here in the Northwest, baby. I've been making a name for myself everywhere I go, baby. Hermiston the other day, I like to kill Rocky Johnson, and I'm going to finish the job, baby. I'm going to finish the job. There ain't no problem. I'm going to finish the job when I get time. You know what I mean? Now, everybody's talking about Buddy Rhodes. All I hear, Buddy Rhodes this, Buddy Rhodes that, Andre this, Rocky Johnson this. Well, you better start changing it, baby, because it's going to be the doctor. Dr. D, it's going to be me. It can't be but one, baby. It can't be but one king, and that's me, baby. It's one king and one queen. Now, if you got somebody that wants the queen spot, they can have it. But I'm going to be the king spot. You hear what I'm saying? Now, I'm going to put the Northwest on the map, baby. I'm going to put the Northwest on the United States of America map. Everybody's going to know about the Northwest because I'm going to make it known. I can bring fortune and fame to this whole area, baby. Everybody come in crying on my shoulder. Everybody grabbing me, wanting to touch me. All the women hollering at me. All the women wanting to say, doctor, doctor, please talk to me. Well, I ain't got time to mess with nobody, baby. Like I said, I'm looking after number one. You know who number one is. That's me. And don't nobody ever forget it. Right here, number one, baby.
That's Dr. D.
Mike, 1982, Dr. D, tell me about this interview.
Hey, baby, I'm going to tell you about this interview, baby. This is a good interview, baby. Baby, baby, baby. Baby, 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 baby.
That's Dr. D's catchphrase is baby.
And you know what? I love this interview. We always talk about Roddy Piper and the cadence of his voice and the cadence of his interviews and how he changes them up. Dr. D, David Schultz, has his own cadence. It's nothing like Roddy Piper's, but it's just a rolling off the tongue. Baby kind of ties everything together. And maybe when he's saying baby, he's trying to think of the next thing to say. You know, in this interview, he talks about Andre the Giant. He talks about running Rocky Johnson out of somewhere, baby. And, you know, he finally gets to Buddy Rose. And it's rambling. And I thought it was great. I thought it was a great interview.
It's June of 82, and it's one of his very first interviews, and it's important because he talked about Andre and Rocky Johnson and who he'd run out, but he talks about who he was and who he had beat. So he's really putting himself over, as opposed to one of the interviews we'll come up with in just a little bit. But the Rose and Dr. D feud was short, but it was really hot, wasn't it?
It really was. And David Schultz kind of touches upon it in his book, how they worked together, they made money together, but Buddy may not have been tough enough for these matches with Dr. D. He kind of alluded to Dr. D may have been a little stiff with Buddy, and I think Buddy voiced that.
And then they have a lose or leave town match, and they both leave.
I love that. They both left. They couldn't decide who was going to stay, and they both left.
And so I'm going to tell you, for me, that just because I don't know if I'm going to give him turnbuckles, but he gets 5 babies on that one.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you know what? There was one other interview that is so memorable. It was when they were toying with turning him babyface, and it was going to be a tag match, Rose and Oliver against David Schultz, and then a great babyface, Brett Sawyer. It was really an unusual team, but they're teaming them up. David Schultz has an interview and he tells the fans, don't go jumping on the doctor's bus. He goes, because I don't want you to cheer for me. And it's like, what a great heel thing to say for someone who is turning, at least in these matches, babyface. And he wants to keep that character going, even though he's going to leave shortly after this. It's just very memorable.
Well, as we go to the next interview, I'm going to pull a word that you just mentioned talking about Dr. D. You talked about rambling. So, Lisa, play the next rambling interview.
A little bit more known as the brother of Hulk Hogan, Dizzy Hogan.
Well, thank you very much, Frank. You know, I just want to tell the people that come out and see me this week in North Bend and Eugene and Salem Thursday and Eugene Friday night. And I also wanted to say that my brother, Hulk Hogan, one of the biggest and the most powerful men in wrestling today, may be coming out here to the Northwest, Frank, to stop in and visit with me for a couple of days and maybe get into that squared circle out there and show some of these punks like Rocky Johnson around here and think they know something, just exactly what they do know, Frank, and that's nothing. You understand what I'm saying, baby?
I know what you're saying.
You know, Frank, a man like that, you know, at Johnny Carson's show, you know, in the movies and everything, Frank, making a lot of money and everything, you know, it makes me feel real good inside, you know, all that green, baby. I like to hold that green, hold it up, play with it a little bit, you know, count it once in a while.
Dizzy Hogan coming up to talk to us, and brother Hulk Hogan might be here anytime now in the Northwest.
Yes. Excuse me, Frank. You know, the hammer, baby, is getting more powerful every day. I've been training harder than I've ever trained in my life. I'm getting ready, baby, because one of these days they're going to put me in there with somebody that has that title belt, and I'm going to take it, baby. That's my dream, to have that title.
Dizzy Hogan, thank you for coming up talking to us, Dizzy.
There you go. 1982, the same time Dr. D is here, but that's Dizzy Hogan, who would later become who, Mike?
Brutus Beefcake.
So tell me about this interview, because I could talk about it for hours. I got to tell you, it's not good.
Well, Dizzy Hogan was a heel here, but most of this interview sounds like a babyface interview. It's very calm. It's very measured. He's talking about Hulk Hogan maybe coming into the area, which never took place. And yeah, which is interesting as well. You know, you're trying to get the rub from Hulk Hogan. Maybe he's going to come, but Don Owen was usually I bet he was surprised at this because
surprised is a good word.
You don't want to advertise somebody who's not coming. Maybe there really was a chance that Hogan was going to come for a night or two, but I'm not sure about that. He finally throws in some heel things like he's going to make some money, but it sounds so stilted because he's saying it in such a calm, you know, and Frank does a little bit of rescuing and then just thanks him. And Frank never just thanks the heels that come up and spout their heelness. So it's a very unusual interview.
And you talk about he puts over Hulk Hogan like a giant star, but he doesn't put himself over at the time. And really, I can't even imagine somebody had to hold Don down in the office when he was watching this on the monitor and talking about Hulk Hogan coming in because, well, yeah, that just wasn't going to happen.
And Dizzy never got very many interviews after this.
Coincidence, I guess. So how many turnbuckles is Dizzy Hogan, who clearly had a lot of turnbuckles given to his head, how many are you giving him?
We got to go with maybe one, maybe not quite one.
Okay, I will go with one because that was
this
bad.
Is bad on several different levels.
But if you think about it, it's really showing you that Dizzy Hogan had ESP because he was knowing Hulk Hogan was eventually going to come to Billy Jack's gym in Oregon City, where I believe you got a picture of him.
That's true.
And did that picture end up on the cover of a national wrestling magazine?
It did. It did. Double Action Wrestling. I'm having a look at it right now.
Yeah, it's a great picture. So if you can find Double Action Wrestling, Mike Rogers got the picture on there. So here's another guy who, well, we just got to play it, Lisa.
In the crow's nest with us, we got Stony Burke. Stony.
This year in 1986, Don Koss, there's one word in all Americans' mind, the rededication of the Statue of Liberty and the different things that are going on, and that's, I got my word.
Well, that's celebration. We're talking celebration here,
celebration.
Partner. All right.
We're talking tradition.
Yes.
And when you talk about the Pacific Northwest, the word tradition, there's one thing that comes to mind. That's Don Owens Promotion, Big Time Wrestling. Yep. For many years, the greatest wrestlers, anywhere you wrestle in this country, you find wrestlers that at one time or the other have been here wrestling for the Pacific Northwest. All the way through, all the different parts of the world, all the different federations, the associations, Don Owens Promotion wrestlers out there wrestling. So these people want to see the best show, the greatest wrestling. Don Owens does it.
And he's done. Don Owen and the Owen family, Stoney, they've been doing this for over 60 years.
That's right.
I mean, you go way, way back.
Mike, that's Stony Burke. Now, you talked about Mike Golden earlier and stumbling about his interview. Did he stumble as bad as Stony Burke did in this?
No, because Mike Golden still kept his words going, and he was willing to keep trying. I really feel like Stony Burke was on the verge of just running out of the crow's nest. And when you want to get in, when you want to be a pro wrestler and you're thinking about the qualifications, who has, even as a fan, you sit there and just, when you're all by yourself, just done a promo, Hey, as a teacher, I got some of the best promos on kids. And, you're just sitting there and you're going on. And I'll never forget this kid named Jackson. And I cut the promo on him and he's looking at me because he didn't do anything that wrong. I just wanted to cut the promo on him because his name was Jackson. And I'm going like, Jackson, you and I are going to have a problem and we're going to go round and round and you're not going to be happy with how it turns out. And you just get rolling. How can somebody be a wrestler and have such a horrible, horrible interview? I know that he's nervous. And he literally folded. Don saves him, but yeah.
And he announces on television, I forgot my words. And I have to tell you, so that's about 1 minute and 20 seconds. That interview goes on for about another 2.5 minutes. And Don starts telling him about Gorgeous George coming here and the history of the Owens promotion because there was something Stoney was supposed to get to, and Don is trying to help him. But it completely went off the rails. Stony Burke. Before I get to the rating for it, Stony Burke is best known in Portland, besides this interview, for being what, Mike?
He is Jesse Ventura's brother-in-law.
So Jesse could talk, Stony not so much. And let me say that if Linda McMahon of the Department of Education of the United States is listening, that Jackson kid turned out all right. So you don't have to come after Mike Rogers. So you know that Linda McMahon's out there. Mike, what are you giving the Stony Burke interview?
It's got to be less than one turnbuckle. So whatever that is, half a turnbuckle.
So underneath the turnbuckle and the mat, that's kind of where he is. We'll give him that. Another guy that you and I have both had times with knowing him, but let's talk about this interview. Lisa, play Billy Jack.
By the wrecking crew, Billy Jack Haynes is up here right now. I can't believe what I'm seeing out there. Billy, you were victimized, but it wasn't by Larry Oliver. You were attacking the wrong man out there.
Shut up!
Hey, Bill, what's the matter with you?
Shut up after 8 years. Just shut up. Everybody shut up. You see what Oliver's son's got in him, really? He's got Oliver blood. He hit me from behind with that daggone garbage can. Don't tell me he didn't.
He did not.
Shut up. You just shut your mouth right now.
What's the matter with you?
Just shut up and hold the mic. Go ahead, look at me. Go ahead. Get carried out of here, punk, like you did to me several times. How does it feel? I'm looking at you right now. Everybody in this stinking state, shut up. For 8 years. For 8 years, I wore Oregon on my tights. All over the world. When I was down, I wore Oregon. But where were you people when I was down 2 years ago? Nowhere. When I was down, you didn't give a damn, did you? Nobody did. See this Oregon? You can stick this Oregon right up your... That's all I care. Shut up, I said. Shut up. I am sick and tired of saying shut up. You see this? You see this? You see where it says Oregon? For 8 years, man, I had a gym in Oregon City. You didn't come, you fat pigs. You didn't support it because you're all out of shape. Every daggone one of you is out of shape. When I was down, needed some money, you never were there. Including you, cuss. And everybody else. Go ahead, Oliver. Your little kid wants to play with the big boys. Well, I'm the big boys. Now you know what it feels like to go out in the stretcher, don't you? I got 3 words to say to this state. Everybody out there, you're supposed to supported me. Yeah, stick it up your butt too, punk. All you little juicers, you like midget wrestling, huh? I got 3 words to say for Oliver's. I'm taking you out. I should have a long time ago. And 3 words for the state of Oregon. Kiss my...
Billy, what's wrong with this guy? Hey, I used to respect this man. I used to call him my friend, and just in a matter of moments, the man's gone berserk. I don't know what Oregonians he's talking about. I'm proud to be an Oregonian. I'm proud of these people. I can't...
Mike, that's the Billy Jack heel turn. So tell me about this interview and how explosive it was.
Oh, the Billy Jack was a good interview as a babyface. He was unbelievable as a heel because you just felt he was so unpredictable. And he was unpredictable in real life. And in this interview, you just did not know, he's screaming at Don Cost to shut up. He's trying to get everybody to shut up. He's giving you reasons why he has turned heel. He's telling you that all the fat people didn't support him when he had a gym. He needed the money. You weren't there. The people of Oregon let him down. He supported Oregon all throughout his wrestling adventures. And, so intense. That's what makes this interview.
And he grabs the mic, grabs it from Don Cost. And that really never happened. Don always had control of the mic. And that's one of the first things Roddy Piper talked to me about when I was doing wrestling announcing was never let a wrestler take the microphone from you. And other than Roddy Piper himself, who grabbed the microphone from me, no wrestler ever grabbed the microphone from me. But Roddy Piper did, even though he told me not to. And so he really comes off in this as delusional. And Don Cost is saying, no, Billy, that's not what really happened. So that really played into the Billy Jack. He was dangerous in real life at times. But in this interview, that was a completely different Billy Jack than anybody had ever seen. And some heel turns are good and they come across. This was a completely different heel turn than we had seen in Portland.
It just seemed so like more realistic because Billy was crazy. He was crazy and it was coming across, and Don Cost played this excellent too. Don is acting, what's wrong with this guy? He's gone berserk. That's how Don closes out the interview. And so Don plays his part perfectly as well.
And this interview was one of the longest ones, but that shows you where Billy Jack was not only good in the ring, but he was good on promos because he's just talking and talking and talking, and he's not fumbling for words. He's yelling at the fans, and he's yelling at the TV screen, and he's ripping the Oregon label off of his shorts. And Billy Jack, this was absolutely terrific. I gave Billy 5 turnbuckles because that's the highest we can go.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. 5 turnbuckles.
Okay, Mike, here's a guy that I thought about skipping and not playing this one. But since we already just played Billy Jack, let's go ahead and play Buck, Rock and Roll Zoom Off.
Rock and Roll Zoom Off. Welcome back. Good to see you. All right. Hey, I just got back from a beautiful, well, it wasn't really a vacation, kind of vacation in Hawaii. I guess anytime you go to Hawaii, it's like a vacation, even though they have a lot of top talent over there wrestling. I did very good, made a little money and had a good time, and I got some sun. I also spent a little time in San Francisco when I left here last fall. I went to Minneapolis. I've been traveling all over the place, New Zealand and places like that. I hope to go back to this fall and do a lot of wrestling and you know, get to see a little more of the world.
And we understand over in the Orient you did well.
Very good over there. Yeah, I was with I tagged up with a few of the New Zealand fellas down there, some big studs they got down there, and I won a lot of matches and did real well. But I just got back into town yesterday, and I'm looking it over, and you have a lot of mean-looking characters here again. It seems like the Northwest has got some of the biggest and the best wrestlers around. I'm surprised that Buddy Rose is still here yet, and that Ed Wiskowski. I thought someone's going to, you know, run him out of town here, so I hope the day will come when they'll clean up the place a little bit, and that Roddy Piper and his bagpipes and everything. I can't believe it. But anyway.
Well, we got the likes of Stan Stasiak and others coming in, so we're glad to have you back. Rock and roll. Thanks a lot for coming up.
Great. I hope to see all the people that come down to the matches. I like to sign autographs and talk to everyone, and we'll see. Rock and roll.
Okay, Mike, now, this interview's from 1978. He had been here in 77. Tell me about this interview.
This is kind of a rambling interview. He's going to tell you some of the different places he's been since the last time he was here. He mentions Hawaii, San Francisco, New Zealand. Don Koss chirps in. He's been in the Orient. He mentions Buddy Rose and Ed Wiskowski. He's surprised that they're still here, that no one's run them off. Sometimes Don would send up the preliminary wrestlers just to introduce them, just to give them a chance. You know, most of the time, somebody like Stony Burke or Buck Zumoff would only get one interview, just to give them a chance, though, to see if they had some charisma. And if they did, maybe they'd get a chance to move up the cards or have more interviews. But this overall really was not a very good interview.
So you say charisma. I will say bland, absolutely bland. And he says, talking about places, you had talked earlier about how the interviews sometimes were to talk about the places that were coming up and that to build the matches. He talks about places he hopes to go back to in the fall. Basically, he's telling fans he's not here for very long. And Rock and Roll Zumoff was not here for very long. And I'm going to give it 2 turnbuckles.
I'll have to give it 1.
Mike's a little feisty tonight. Okay, so now let's just play this interview.
Let me tell you something, Frank Bottomer. When you look at the Army, you're looking at the 3 greatest professional wrestlers in the Northwest, in the whole world. Now, the only time the Army is going to be completely happy is when we have all the belts around us. When the whole Army has all the belts, we will be happy. So whenever the Pacific Northwest heavyweight champion will decide to give me a title shot and have the guts, then the Army will have all the belts. You know,
Mike, you can recognize that voice. That's the Destroyer. In 1980, he's part of the Army of Rose, Oliver, and Wiskowski. It's his first time in Portland. What do you think about the Destroyer interview here?
I think it's a pretty good interview. The Destroyer spent a lot of time in Florida, has spent a lot of time with Dusty Rhodes, and you can really see Dusty Rhodes' influence in every one of these interviews that we're going to hear. He's got kind of that patter to his voice, that pattern and banter of his voice. Pretty good interview.
Yeah, so I agree. Destroyer with the mask. I always like masked wrestlers, so I'm giving it 4 turnbuckles.
That sounds good. 4 is good for me as well.
So here's another masked wrestler, and I'm not going to tell you who it is, but let's play this interview.
Rip the cripple all over. You told everybody in town, everybody in the Pacific Northwest, that you done ran me out of the Pacific Northwest, that you crippled up the assassin. Well, Rip the Cripple Oliver, July 3rd in Eugene, Oregon, in a big bunkhouse match. I'm going to take this mask off for all those people that turned away in Portland, Oregon. July 3rd in Eugene, brother, I got you in a bunkhouse match. I'm going to take this mask off before the match, and then the big 4th of July spectacular in the Portland Sports Arena. Rip the Cripple Oliver, one more time, you see, coming back for the 2nd time. Coal Miner's Glove match. Glove on top of the pole. I feel like I let the people down last time. Mean Mike Miller telling me how you've been talking about me, how you're so happy because what happened to my mom, how I'm at home because of sickness in the family. will rip the Cripple Oliver in the Portland Sports Arena in a coal miner's glove match. It ain't going to be on TV. I'm going to take this mask off for all those people that turned away the last time I was there. Rip the Cripple Oliver. The fireworks are going to be in the Portland Sports Arena on the 4th of July, brother, because I'm going to cripple you up, you understand? Mean Mike Miller, Coco Samoa. You don't worry, brother. The assassin's coming back. Mike Miller told me I've been stepping aside, Rip the Cripple Oliver. 4th of July spectacular. Coal miner's glove match. You better be ready, Rip the Cripple Oliver, because I'm going to be ready, brother. And when the assassin comes after you, baby, you're going to go down, Rip the Crippler, because I'm so tired of it, you understand? I don't care about nothing, brother. When you talk about everything, I don't care about snakes. You see, I might bring my partner here with me. You see, Rip the Crippler, 4th of July, coal miner's glove match. The fireworks are going to start early, you understand, Rip the Crippler. It's coming to an end, brother. Rematch, coal miner's glove match. It ain't going to be on TV. And yes, I'll take my mask off right at Don Costa's desk. I'm going to stand on top of that desk, brother. They're going to turn people away again, and I'm going to end your wrestling career. Coal miner's glove match, mask will be coming off, brother. And it's going to be the greatest sports attraction in Portland of 1987.
How about that? The assassin and friend. Well, I'm sure we'll hear a lot about...
Mike, from 1987, as a face, that's the assassin. He kind of sounded like somebody else.
He did sound like the Destroyer. And that's because he was the Destroyer. So the Destroyer gimmick kind of played itself out. He was here for quite a while. And he obviously should return as the assassin.
Obviously.
Spends a good time as heel, and now he's turned babyface. Again, now he's got the Dusty Rhodes banter. Might have thrown in a baby or two in there. And you know, he talks about personal issues, really hits on the July 3rd, July 4th, where they're going to be, who he's wrestling. He hits on all the important things in this interview, and he really does a good job.
Yeah, I think it was long. It was interesting because he's wearing the mask, and he's been known as the assassin with a mask. And he says he's going to take off his mask for this match. And he actually does take it off. But then the very next week, he puts the mask back on for a while. So I don't know what he was thinking. I liked it. I will give it 4 turnbuckles.
4 turnbuckles, yes. Sounds good. He never messes up his words, hits the points that he's supposed to. And yeah, 4 turnbuckles.
So then another mask guy comes in, and I don't know if we've heard this guy before, but let's listen to Top Gun.
Playboy Buddy Rose, here's a young athlete, Rookie of the Year of Florida. He's got an injured neck. He's under the injury list. He's sitting up here commentating, and you come up here and give him a DDT and cut some of his hair, man, because you know that he's my protege because I brought him from Florida to the Pacific Northwest. Well, Buddy Rose, you got me to deal with on a 26, hair versus hair, and somebody's leaving bald-headed. Matt Bourne, you're one of the men that held me last Saturday night. You held me by the arm, and the grappler held me. Next Saturday night, Matt Bourne, it's going to be me and you, brother. And when we meet, it's going to be like Mount St. Helens erupting all over again. And then on the 26th, Matt Bourne, I got the mystery man here, Jack. The mystery man's here. And I told everybody I was going to reveal him. But I'm going to reveal him next week. But I'm going to look under there right now. Don Cuss, all I got to say is they live, brother. They live. You understand, Matt Bourne? They live. And I'm going to look under there again. And I see the fire in his eyes. And I see the lightning bolts in his hands. And Matt Bourne, next Saturday night, you'll pay the price. But on the 26th, the mystery man is going to live all over your face, Jack.
Mike, that's November 88. Top Gun. I'm confused.
Well, Top Gun was the assassin and the destroyer. A lot of times wrestlers will touch on culture and what's popular at the time. And Top Gun, the movie, was out about this time. And he's just going to borrow from that culture. One time I was flying out to fly somewhere, and I'm walking down a hallway. It's crowded at the airport. And it's like one of those scenes when people are walking in New York City and there's just lots of people walking, and a group of people are going one way and the people are coming the other way. And then as I'm walking, I kind of glanced as far down as I could see, and I saw a Halliburton. The Halliburton has a very unique look to it. It's the suitcase that a wrestler will bring with him. And I'm looking and looking. I can't see the person who's carrying the Halliburton, but I'm imagining that it is going to be a wrestler. And finally, as we get close, it's a big person. Now, up until this point, we hadn't seen Top Gun or Assassin or Destroyer without his mask, but I did recognize him because we've seen David Patterson, David Sierra in other territories. And he's walking with this Halliburton, and I'm thinking like, what smart aleck thing can I say to him as we walk by? And finally I thought of something and we pass, and I said, kayfabe the Halliburton. And he looks back at me a little bit, and I just kept on walking. And
David or Fidel Sierra worked for me in Portland, doing Portland wrestling, and we'll see him again at the Portland Wrestling Expo coming up, and hope to have him on the show very shortly. So stay tuned, and we'll see if I'm not sure who will show up. Will it be Fidel Sierra? Will it be the Assassin, Destroyer, Top Gun? You just never know. But I'll give that one 4 turnbuckles just to be consistent with all the others.
yeah, 4 turnbuckles, it's since it is the same person, we want to be consistent. And
or maybe we should give him 4 Halliburtons.
There you go. That's the way to go.
Frank, it's that time.
Yes, Lisa. I hear the music. Mike, you hear the music. And Mike, you were looking startled because that is not the music that we normally play. But before we go on, we want to introduce something new here on Ringside in Rose City. It's different music we're using. Mike is so confused. I know, Mike, you were primed for trivia because you love doing well in kayfabe curveballs, but don't panic. Kayfabe curveballs isn't going anywhere. That segment's still very much alive and well. But as this show keeps growing, we're going to start rotating in a few different features. And tonight, we're dealing with the first one of the brand new series, and it's called Card Shark. And yes, that music was from the theme song from the Card Sharks TV show from 1978. Now, this isn't about playing cards. These are wrestling cards, pulled from different years, different territories, and different moments in wrestling history. When the Card Shark music comes up, Lisa will deal out 2, maybe 3 cards from the deck. Each card represents a year and a territory. And Mike, your job is to listen to the card, tell us when it took place, maybe the promotion, and the city or state. And some will be obvious, some will be deep cuts, and some might even surprise a historian like Mike Rogers. This is just the beginning. Card Shark joins kayfabe curveballs in rotation, and we've got more ideas coming up as the show keeps evolving. All right, Lisa, deal the first card.
Here you go.
Thank you. Mike, here's your first card, and I'll go easy with you on the first one. In the opener, George Harris took on Ripper Collins. King Curtis battled Han Lee.
You can stop.
In the semi-main event, Pampero Firpo took on Mr. Fuji. And in the main event, it's Ed Francis and Pedro Morales against Kurt and Carl von Steiger. Mike, what can you tell me about this card? Where do you think it's from or the year?
All right. This is absolutely Hawaii, undoubtedly Honolulu. They did run some spot shows. George Harris and Ripper Collins. King Curtis. Who did King Curtis work?
Han Lee.
Okay.
Who we know as Pink Hai Lee.
This is... Now, Ed Francis did not wrestle throughout the 60s, and he kind of made his comeback. This is 1970.
Oh, you are so very, very close. It's crazy. It is Hawaii. It's Hilo, Hawaii. And as you mentioned, those little islands, if you got Hawaii, we're giving that to you. It was October 17th, 1969. So really right there with 1970. Mike, we're going to give you absolute 100% credit for this. That's very good. George Harris drew with Ripper Collins. King Curtis got disqualified against Han Lee. Firpo beat Mr. Fuji. Francis and Morales beat Kurt and Carl von Steiger. Now, interestingly, the von Steigers had lost the tag titles in Portland to Born in Maine in May. They lost to Stasiak and Don Leo Jonathan on the way out, because they had this Hawaii gimmick lined up. And then in November, just a couple of weeks later, Von Steigers would head back to Portland and be in the tag title mix. So absolutely good. Okay, Lisa, second card, please. Thank you. It's a little harder here. Doug Summers wrestles Mike Snyder in the opener. Bob Backlund goes against Mitsu Yoshida. In tag team action, Tony Charles and Irish Pat Barrett take on Beauregard and Mark Starr. Adnan El Casey battles Chris Markoff. In a loser leave town tag team match, Pepper Gomez and Danny Little Bear wrestle John Foley and Dutch Mantell. And in the main event, in an I Quit match for a state title that I won't name, the champion, Terry Funk, defends against the challenger, Bob Roop. Mike, what's your guess on this card?
You had me really unsure. The start of here, Doug Summers and Mike Snyder, Bob Backlund and Yoshida. We're at Tony Charles and Pat Barrett. Sheik Adnan El Casey. I'm still unsure. Chris Markoff. Then we get Pepper Gomez and Danny Little Bear, John Foley and Dutch Mantell. Before the main event, I would say that this is Florida. And Terry Funk versus Bob Roop made me sure that it was Florida. The year, 1975.
Wow. This is why Mike Rogers is a historian. May 26, 1975, West Palm Beach Auditorium, West Palm Beach, Florida. You nailed that perfectly. Doug Summers beat Mike Snyder. Backlund defeated Yoshida. Tony Charles and Irish Pat Barrett defeated Beauregard and Mark Starr. A lot of people don't remember Beauregard worked in Florida and actually lived there till he passed away. Adnan Casey beat Chris Markoff. And in the loser leave town match, Pepper Gomez and Danny Little Bear came out on top. And Terry Funk defeated Bob Roop for the Florida heavyweight title. Mike, you're doing very, very good tonight. A little better than kayfabe curveballs.
This is fun. I like this.
Mike, do you want to try one more card?
Sure.
Okay, Lisa, deal this one from the bottom of the deck. Yeah, I know you know how to do that. I've played poker with you before, and I've lost my shirt and more. So, yeah, thank you for that card. Okay, Mike, opening match. Tony Garea takes on Bull Palmetti. Chuck O'Connor wrestles El Olympico. Buddy Wolf battles Arnold Scotland. The champion, the Fabulous Moolah, defends against Dottie Downs in women's action. In a six-person tag, 2 out of 3 falls, Chief J Strongbow, Gorilla Monsoon, and Sonny King take on Mr. Fuji, Toro Tanaka, and the Spoiler. Mike Lauren wrestles Victor Rivera, and in the main event for a title I will not say, but if you don't get this right, you're not a historian as far as what championship. The champion, Pedro Morales, defends against the Sheik. A lot of famous names on there.
Yes, this is a WWF card. The Sheik didn't make a lot of cities in the WWF. So I'm going to have a city on this one. I'm going to say Boston. And the year is going to be 1972.
1972, Boston Gardens. And there's some great names on there. Tony Garea drew Bull Palmetti in an opener. But Chuck O'Connor, who did Chuck O'Connor become?
Big John Studd.
And El Olympico, he wrestled here in Portland.
Yes, he was Monty Zuma.
Not the handsomest man.
No.
As we have talked about. And his mask there, he was a mask wrestler as El Olympico, but especially when he wrestled in New York, he had to cut the circle out of the face, so kind of gave who he was. What about Arnold Scotland? What's his connection to Portland?
His son wrestled in Portland, George Scotland.
That's right, 1987. So that is very, very good. Mike Lauren lost to Victor Rivera. What's amazing about the main event for the WWF World Champion, Pedro Morales beat the Sheik by countout in 5 minutes. Mike, you go to the main event. It's the Sheik versus Pedro Morales, and it goes 5 minutes. What are you thinking as a fan?
Yeah, the Sheik's matches were not very long. And he tried to fill those 5 minutes with some fire and some pencils and some other nefarious things. Even though it was only 5 minutes, hopefully you saw the nastiness of the Sheik.
When you say fire up, you don't mean like he got all excited. You meant a different kind of fire.
Yeah, he was throwing fire probably in this match, undoubtedly to get disqualified or using his pencil or other foreign objects.
Absolutely. The crowd was going crazy. And of course, just a year later, Morales would drop the title to the greatest wrestler ever, Stan Stasiak. When Stan was so smart, he got his shoulders up on a double pin situation, and the ref's hand came down for the 3 count because Morales, he couldn't count to 3, I guess. I don't know what it is. But Mike, you did excellent tonight, and that's Card Shark. Cards from the past, territories remembered, and history put to the test. Lisa had the deck, Mike had the knowledge, and I still have my shirt on, despite Lisa dealing from the bottom of the deck, at least for now. All right, back to ringside in Rose City. Mike, so we got a couple more to talk about here, and this one of the legends in Portland wrestling, as a heel, a short face run, but really as a heel. So let's listen to Playboy Buddy Rose.
Undefeated Playboy Buddy Rose is up here to make a challenge to Stan the Man Stasiak and his Pacific Coast Heavyweight title. Stasiak, you're one of the greats. You're undefeated. You have the belt. But your heart punch will never penetrate this Superman chest of mine. Now, all these people go, bull. They all said that when I got rid of Piper. They all said that when I got rid of Boyd. They all said that when I got rid of Ventura. They all said that when I got rid of Jay Youngblood. They all said that when I got rid of Hector Guerrero. And I could go on for about 2 hours telling who I got rid of. So, Stan Stasiak, you are next. Next Saturday, I have challenged you. Now the ball is in your hands, as Beretta would say. You play with it. You do what you want with it because I am making the challenge. Because I will defeat you and take that championship belt. I am the former U.S. heavyweight champion. I was one half of the World Tag Team champions. One half of the Pacific Coast heavyweight champions. The Hawaiian champion, in which I went to Hawaii last Tuesday for 1 day to lay out in the sun some more. I can spend the money. I can do it. One more thing. I don't mind Tom Peterson up here. But this cattleman up here, this man, let me tell you something, this is for TV celebrities only. You should get home and start shoveling the you-know-what.
And Mike, I could have chosen one of 100 Buddy Rose interviews to play, but I chose this one. Tell me about this. And Stan Stasiak involved, which is why I chose this one.
Well, Buddy Rose kind of had a way of talking. Sometimes he would say a sentence and he'd go off on a little bit of a tangent or throw in some other words while he's talking. And he does this a little bit, but he really does a good job with interviews. I'm speculating that this is the night that he turned heel. He attacks Matt Bourne while they're up there together. Matt Bourne is very happy to see Buddy Rose. He's saying, I'm so happy to see this man again. Buddy had been gone. And then Buddy attacks Matt Bourne and hits him with his shoe. So Buddy is doing an excellent job of reiterating, he was a babyface, but that's not the Buddy Rose that the Northwest really knows. And he's back to being a heel. He calls Matt Bourne a pussy. He says the Northwest sucks. He pulls out all the stops to turn heel here.
And the audience really reacted. You could hear them, the volume coming up towards the crow's nest. Buddy just played right into it. And as you mentioned, he called him a pussy, which never happened in those days on television.
No, he takes it the extra step, that's for sure.
So how many turnbuckles, or maybe we're given these roses, how many roses is this interview getting?
This one has to get 5 because, again, has some historical context. That first interview sticks out in your mind, and this is the interview that explains why he did that. So yeah, this is 5 roses.
Absolutely 5. That's 1984, and you were correct. It's right after Rose turns on Matt Bourne, which was great. And now, boy, we've got just a couple left. 2 of the very best interviews in the history of Portland wrestling. Let's listen to Coco Samoa.
Well, that was a tremendous move you made there to get that first fall, Coco.
Tonight is my night, brother. The first spin The first time I'm happy in my career. Because somebody with me. The man, he teach me everything. Inside the ring, brother. He is the man, he teach me everything. On the street, everywhere I go. He is the man, he teach me how to talk. With all of it, I told you before, brother. I have something for you. Right here. The man, he showed me how to live, how to walk, and how to ring, brother. Brother, now you see, we're going to show you. We're going to point your finger where we came from. It doesn't matter where we came from, brother. We fight like a dog. You think you're me. Nobody hurt you before. What happened now? I tell you something, brother. You better make your move. Otherwise, we're going to take it away from you, brother.
Brady, you guys have got a lot of action tonight.
I can remember Coco Samoa was not a good interview. He didn't have the charisma of Jimmy Snuka, but I remember, and this very well might have been the interview. I remember one time Coco Samoa had a really, really good interview, and this might have been it. You know, he's blown up. he's you can tell that he is winded, but he is very passionate in this interview. And I think that lends itself to, he's not going through the motions. He's doing the best job that he can. And I really like this interview.
And Coco is so funny because he's telling him all about Jimmy Snuka. And so also in this interview, and we cut that part out, is Brady Boone, who just looks totally lost at this time. But he's talking about Jimmy Snuka and all the things that he did for him. And he says Snuka taught him how to talk. Mike, I'm lost for words on that one. Coco Samoa. So Coco, because it's Coco and because of the ludicrousness of some of it, I'm giving it 5 Coco Samoas.
I like this interview, and I can't give it 5. I'm going to give it 4.
Okay, 4 is good because I know the next one can't be topped, and that's, well, Lisa, play Jimmy Snuka for us.
Tomorrow in Forest Grove. Monday, of course, you're going to be on the card in Hoquiam, Washington.
That's right, brother. And I just looking forward to say hi to you wonderful people here in Oregon. I know it's been quite some time that I've been away. 7 years is a long time for me. It is so hard, and it seems like it's very hard for me to leave such wonderful people like you people here in Oregon. You're so wonderful and so kind. You have a heart, and you make me feel at home here, and this is a home to me. But there's only one thing I like to tell Rick Oliver and the clan. Whatever you guys deciding, brother, to create upon yourself, just remember one thing, brother. You could be good, and you can be bad, but just remember, you got the brother Snuka, you got brother Coco, you got this beautiful young man here. Let me tell you something, brother. That was just the beginning on the first match. We got 2 more coming up, and we're going to make sure, brother, that none of you are going to pull any monkey business.
All right, we're going to be returning to our main event right after this timeout.
Okay. Brother, can you tell me, we've had babies and all catchphrases.
Why did Jimmy Snuka and Dr. D not feud and just stand up in the crow's nest and call each other brother and baby? That's money.
So tell me about this interview. A couple things stick out to me.
Well, he had not been around for a long time, so he's returning, and this is one of his first interviews. The people in the Northwest were used to Snuka. They gave him a lot of leeway for his interviews that didn't make sense, that went nowhere, because they loved him so much. He could have said anything. The people are going to cheer him, and in this interview, he tries to say that it's the Northwest are wonderful people. This is home to him. Rip Oliver and the Klan, you could be good and you could be bad. Well, that goes without saying. Maybe he is making sense here. You got Brother Snuka, you got Brother Coco. That's the beginning and no monkey business. What more needs to be said? He said it all and he said it very succinctly.
He did, and he even got the name Rick Oliver in there instead of Rip Oliver, but it was close enough. But when he's talked about you can be good and you can be bad, and then he just gets lost. And it's prime Jimmy Snuka. And, you said Coco Samoa had a good interview, and this might have been it. All of Snuka's interviews are pretty much the same. And they're all great because they're Snuka.
They're great because they're so bad. I can remember him having interviews where he has been attacked and he is furious. And those interviews are interesting because he literally cannot say anything, and those were memorable as well. But yeah, you can't look away from a Snuka interview.
And so I'm going to give him, Snuka doesn't get turnbuckles, so I'm going to give him 5 coconuts.
I'll give him 5 as well. 5 of something.
Well, he was famous for the coconut with Roddy Piper.
Okay.
So I'll say we've heard some good, we've heard some bad, we've heard some ugly, and we've heard a sad. But Mike, I got to ask you, after all these interviews, what's your favorite and what stands out about these interviews? And what's the worst?
Well, the Stony Burke one would be the worst because it would have been better if they hadn't had any interview during that time.
Dead air.
Where they couldn't get any wrestler up to the crow's nest in time. I like Dr. D's interview the best just because of his rap that he had going. And you can never have enough babies. But the Lonnie interview, Lonnie's so near and dear to your heart. And to be able to have the ability still to see him when he passed away so early, I love the Lonnie's interview. As I listen to the words of Lonnie, anything that Lonnie says is going to be good.
Yeah, every time he talked, it was excitement in the air. So, Lisa, let's go ahead and play that last Lonnie interview.
Lonnie's lucky enough to secure a championship match with Jimmy coming in on Tuesday night. That's going to be a barn buster. I suggest you people get down here early because it's going to look pretty good. If it doesn't sell out, it's going to be near capacity. But you people get your tickets early for that one Tuesday night. Now, regardless of the fact who wins Tuesday night, Lonnie will face the champion. The champion either being Jimmy Snuka, if he wins, and I hope he does, or Harley Race if he retains the championship. There will be a championship match in Eugene Friday night. Big card in Salem. Tomorrow night, Aberdeen, Washington. Tomorrow night, Grays Harbor Community College. We're going to be there. You folks be out.
Aberdeen!
And let me say it again, Aberdeen. I've been mispronouncing it for about 2 years. So Aberdeen, not Grays Harbor. At Grays Harbor.
Excitement in the air.
Community College.
Tom Peterson.
Let's all do it at them, shall we? They do that at me all the time. Here's Tom Peterson.
We forgot one thing. What? Bass and Anson tonight.
Oh.
In this interview, Harley Race is coming in. Jimmy Snuka is going to face Harley Race. But the real interesting part was Lonnie was going to get an NWA title shot on Friday in Eugene. Kayfabing it was wonderful because he mentioned he was either going to face Jimmy Snuka if Snuka won on Tuesday night or the champ Harley Race. And so they're building up Friday, but they're also giving that hint that maybe Snuka's going to win on Tuesday, which is a great, great touch.
And after Lonnie talks, that's Dutch Savage talking for a minute, coming in and promoting the towns, and Frank Bonema closing it up. But then Lonnie just keeps making noise in the background and talking about Tom Peterson and going off. And that was just classic Lonnie, man. So good. Such a great interview. And hearing Dutch Savage's voice always brings back great memories. You can never get enough of Lonnie Main, and we've come across some more. We're going to have on the next time we queue up these interviews. We've got Bull Ramos, Tony Bourne, Dutch Savage, Rip Oliver, Mike Miller, Bobby Jaggers. Just it goes on and on. There's so many great interviewers, people that had great interviews in Portland, and then there's some more Stony Burks. I'm looking for the Mike Golden interview. It might have been scrubbed from history, but we're going to try to find it. So that's going to go ahead and wrap these things up for this episode of Ringside in Rose City. Thanks to everyone who joined us. This show exists because of listeners like you who care about Portland wrestling and its history. And again, thanks to Rich Patterson for rescuing the tapes Buddy Rose kept in his garage all those years. Once again, you can have your very own drive of close to 600 hours of vintage Portland Wrestling matches and interviews by contacting Rich Patterson at portlandwrestlingvideo@yahoo.com. That's portlandwrestlingvideo@yahoo.com. It's an absolute fabulous collection. So make sure you're following us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. New episodes drop every Thursday, and we've got plenty more stories to come and more interviews queued up. And don't forget to check out Mike Rogers' books on Amazon. The Excitement in the Air interview series, volumes 1, 2, and 3. Katie Bar the Door, The History of Portland Wrestling. The Encyclopedia of Portland Wrestlers from the House of Action. And Mike, tell me what's the name of the history book from Hawaii?
Oh, yeah, The History of Hawaiian Wrestling.
Absolutely giant books, must have for every wrestling fan. And with that, I'm Frank Culbertson, and this is
Mike Rogers.
And remember, that's wrestling. Wrestling the way it should be. Lisa, outstanding as always. Hey, let's go ahead and hear Frank Bonema once again, and then you can take us home.
Well, if he was going to tell, we don't have time. Frank Bonema saying thanks a lot for being with us. See you next Saturday. This has been Portland Wrestling. Brought to you in part by Marv Talkin' Ford. Well, you're number one. And by Tom Peterson's, where the big truckload sale comes to an end soon at 82nd and Southeast Foster Road. I'm Frank Bonema, your host. Tonight's director has been Donovan Bass. Floor directors Laurel Parker and Lois Garrett. Technical director Harold Tony. Audio and video Mark Walt. Cameras Chuck Heil and Steve Constable.
Stay tuned for the Top 10 Countdown with special guest stars on Solid Gold next.
And that's a wrap from Ringside in Rose City, where one ring, one city, and 1,000 stories never fail to deliver. I'm Lisa Hughes, and this has been a Yaski production. Catch every episode on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your wrestling fix. Until next time, keep your boots laced, your popcorn buttered, and your stories ready.